Hola mi amigos, today I'm going to be showing you how to make a quiz game with Swift and Xcode, so let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so this is what we're trying to accomplish inside of this application. So we have a question that's going to be up here, and we're going to say, what is my last name? Davidson. So it says, you are correct. So you say, next question please. And then it brings you on to the next question. Hello world, what is my name? You can click John. You are wrong. Next question please. Jared. Okay, you are correct. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so first thing we need to do is go ahead and open up Xcode, and we're going to create a new Xcode project. And this will be a single view application. In our product name, I'm just going to call mine Quiz. Our language will be set to Swift, and devices will be set to iPhone. Now click Next and Create. And I'm just going to make this a bit bigger for you guys. First thing we want to do is actually go into our main.storyboard, and we want to add a label onto our view controller. So go ahead, go down here, and we want to add a label. So just click and drag a label onto our view controller like so. And we're going to make this label a bit bigger, like so. Alright, and now let's go to our attributes inspector. And we want to change the amount of lines that can fit inside this label. And this is just to be sure that when you say you have so much text that it can't fit on the first line, it'll just pass over to the second line, like so. So we have so much text that it just passes over to the next line. Whereas if I had too much text and I only had 2 lines possible, or just 1 line possible, then it would just make it go ... You would see that ... which we don't want in a quiz. So if you have more lines, you want to add more lines into your label. So yeah, that is how that is done. Alright, and then we need to go to our alignment right here, and we want to center your alignment. Alright, now let's go ahead and go down here to our button, and just click and drag our button onto our scene like so, and I'm just going to make this a bit bigger, like so. And there we have it. Alright, so we have our label, and then we have this button. And this first button will be, all these buttons that we're putting down here will be our answers. Up here, this label will be our question, whereas so all these buttons will be our answers to this question up here. Alright, now go ahead, and I'm just going to change the background color so we can differentiate between all of these buttons that we're creating a little bit better. So go ahead and click on this button that we have, and I'm just going to change the background color to be, we'll make it a nice blue. And then we're going to change the text to be a white color, like so. Doesn't really matter what you do. And also, I don't like this shadowing going on here, so I'm just going to say it's a clear color, so we don't have any shadowing. Alright, so now we have this label, and then we have this button. And basically, if you don't understand what shadowing is, it's adding a little bit of a drop shadow inside of the text here. Alright, anyway. So we need to go ahead and just control and copy and paste that button. So we have 4 of these buttons overall. And next thing we need to do is when you build and run this right now, first thing you'll see is actually that these are going to be off-centered. So we're going to fix that in just a second. Just let me show you what happens. So we're on our iPhone 6, and as you can see, it built it to the specifications of this square display that we have right here. So it doesn't work properly. So in order to fix that, there's a couple ways you can fix it. You can do it programmatically, or you can do it just in here. I just like doing it in this UI view controller right here anyway. So let's go ahead and right click or control click and drag from our button and just connect it to our view. And then we want to say it has equal widths, like so. And then right click or control click and drag, and we want to say center horizontally in container. So now if I were to build and run this, let me show you the difference. When you build and run this now, this button is going to be centered, and it's going to have the equal width of this view right here. Alright, and I'm sure there's better ways to do this programmatically. This is just how I've found it, and this is tutorial purposes. Alright, so now let's go ahead and right click or control click and drag from our other button, and we're going to do the same. Equal widths and center horizontally in container. Equal widths, center horizontally in container. Right click or control click and drag from our last button. Equal widths and center horizontally in container. All right, and lastly, we want to do the same for our label. So go ahead and right click and drag, and make sure you're dragging it onto this view. So the view will highlight everything. Make sure you're not dropping it onto a button, or else it's not gonna work properly. All right, now go ahead and right click and drag, and we want to say it has equal, center horizontally in container, and it has equal widths. All right, now that is it. And now we need to go open up our assistant editor right here. So now we can actually connect all of these buttons and give them a name inside of our code. So let's go ahead and right click and drag from our label right here over to our viewcontroller.swift, and we want to say the name of this is going to be our question label, and connect. All right, and now that that's done, go ahead and right click and drag from our button, and this is going to be our first button, so this is going to be button 1, and connect. Do the same for our second button, button 2, right click and drag, and this is going to be right click or control click and drag. This is going to be button 3, and this last one is going to be button 4, and connect. All right, so now that we have all these outlets connected, this is button 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, and this label is the question label. So now we will edit this accordingly in just a second. Last thing we need to do is actually right click or control click and drag from these buttons, and we need to insert an action. And this action will help us pick which answer is right later on. So this is just going to be button 1 action. And make sure you're naming it accordingly to which button is button 1 and 2 and whatnot. All right, now I'm just gonna hit enter a bunch of times so this is more centered. All right, so now right click or control click and drag from this button that we have here. And again, make sure the connection's in action, and the name of this will be button 2 action. All right, and just do the same for all the other buttons. I'll come back in 1 second. All right, so now we have all of our buttons named accordingly, and now we have actions connecting them. So we will use these actions later on. We're not going to use them right now, so let's go ahead and continue on. So let's go back to our viewcontroller.swift file, and I just closed our assistant editor by clicking this this graph right here. And let's go, that button right there. All right, and let's go ahead and create a new function, and this function will be this will randomize all of the questions that are going to be put inside of your view controller. So this is going, we're just going to say func random questions, open parentheses, close parentheses, open curly bracket, close curly bracket. So according to the name of this is just a random name. You can name this whatever you want inside of a function, but you always have to make sure that you have these parentheses right there. All right, and now after that, we want to say inside of this, we want to create a random number, and this random number will help us pick which questions are being displayed according to the number that is grabbed. So we want to say var random number equals arc4random %4. So basically what arc4random is, it's just a random number picker. That's the way I've thought of it. So basically it's picking a random number between 0 and 3. So this might be deceiving a little bit. So if you want to fix the deception of this, so you can easily just say random number plus equals 1. So after this is picked, it adds 1 to the number, and then you can use that later on. So now this is actually, when you add this 1, now it's going to be chosen between 1, 2, 3, or 4. But right now, if you were to just leave this alone, it would be picked between 0, 1, 2, and 3. 4 numbers in total, but it's going to all start at 0 and end at 3. All right, and if you want to add more questions, you can easily do that by just going ahead and saying %6, and then add accordingly to the switch case that we will create in just a second. So now just go ahead and create a switch case, and we want this to be, so say switch, open parentheses, close parentheses, and this is going to be random number. So according to this random number, it's going to switch between a couple of these cases that we're going to create in just a second. So go ahead and say switch between a random number. So according to this random number, we're going to switch through some cases. So first thing we actually want to do is add a default. So this default is what's going to be called if it doesn't equal any of these random numbers. So so default break. So now if this equals 5, which is highly doubtable that it's going to equal 5, then it will automatically default to this default right here. And you can add things inside of that, but I'm not going to add anything for tutorial purposes. All right, now let's go ahead and say case. In the case that the random number equals 1, then we want stuff to happen. So say case 1, enter, and then break. And then case 2, so in the case that this is 2, break. And then in the case that this is 3, break. So case 4, break. And you have to make sure that you have a space between the case and the 4. All right, so now that we have all these cases done, if you didn't add this plus equals 1, then your cases would be 0, 1, 2, and 3. But because we did add that 1, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so in the case that this equals 1, we first want to change our question label. So we can say question label dot text equals open parenthesis, open quotation mark, close quotation mark, and inside of that we can easily just say hello world, what is my name? All right, and we can add the answer to this. So now this answer, we will have a version of multiple choices according to the button. So we just easily say button1 dot set title. So the title of this button when we're setting this accordingly. So we're going to say button1 dot set title, and we're going to say John. And this is for the state UI control state dot normal. So in the case that nothing is happening to this button, it's going to say John. That is what this UI control state dot normal is. All right. They give me a scare. All right, so now we actually want to do this for all of our other buttons, and you can easily just do this by just copying and pasting this same line of code over and over again, and then changing the button accordingly. So just say button 2, button 2, button 3, and button 4. All right, so now with that we have that done. We have we can change the answers. So we'll have button 2 be the right answer, and then we'll say Google, and then just creating random names, and then Carter. That was spelt wrong, but whatever. All right, so now we have button 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they all have certain titles to their names. So now if we built and run this, it would give us anywhere between any of these cases. So let's go ahead and add some more of these questions into our cases. So just copy, and actually we don't want to do that yet. Not quite yet. So first thing we actually want to do is go up here, and we want to create a variable. And this will be the correct answer variable. So you want to say equals a string. So this is going to be a string, and then open parentheses, close parentheses. So this is going to be a string variable, and the name of it is going to be correct answer. So according to which of, so we could say correct answer equals 1. And then when a button is pressed, like down here, we're going to say if the correct answer is equal to 1, just as button 1 is, then you have a correct answer. So that's what we're doing down here. So we can say correct answer equals open string, open quotation mark, close quotation mark. And again, the correct answer is button 2. So we're going to say the correct answer equals 2. All right, and now let's go down here. and go to our case2 function right down here, and we can easily just say, just copy and paste all of this. You can change accordingly to which cases. So let's go ahead and do that for one of these cases. I'm not going to do them all. So let's question label.text, what is my last name? Last name. I don't know why I'm capitalizing everything, sorry. Okay, what is my last name? We could say Davidson. And then we can have Jared, Google, or Carter. And then the correct answer to this one would be number 1. So now that is going to work for all of these cases. So now let's go down here to our button 1 action right down here. And we want to say if open parentheses, close parentheses, say correct answer is equal to 1 or equals 1. Actually, open like that. So if correct answer equals 1, then go ahead and just say nslog. Alright, so basically what an nslog is, it's basically just a way to tell you that it's right without actually showing the person that's actually playing the game. So we could actually just say, here, I'll give you an example right now. So just say nslog hello. So go ahead and say Command C, and then go up here to our viewed load. And now we have that. So now if we built and ran this right now, first of all, nothing would show up because we don't have everything done. So it would be a label button. But if you go back here to your command prompt right here, you will see that it spat out hello. So this will be according to which of these buttons that you click on. But I just put that in our viewed load, so that's why it showed hello. So now go down here, and I'm just going to close up our command prompt. And you can also open up that command prompt by dragging, or you can click on this button right up here. All right, now let's go down here again, and now we will say, you are correct. And we'll actually add something else to this later on, but this is just an easy way to test. So now let's just go ahead and copy and paste this into each of these. And then we will have so our button 1 action, our correct answer will be if it is 1, then it is right. And then our second button, it's going to basically match up to which button we are using. So button 3 will have if the correct answer equals 3, and lastly, if correct answer equals 4, then that is correct. Also, just a reminder that equals is a comparison, whereas equals is naming the state of something. So if you're saying correct answer equals 1, that just means you're comparing the correct answer variable with the string across right here. So now if it equals that, or it's the same as both sides, then this is correct. And then you can add an else statement actually, so let's go ahead and do that. I should have done that earlier, but you can say else, and then we can easily just add an nslog that says you are wrong. Alright, that works. I don't really know. Alright, just having a little bit of fun. Alright, so now we have you are wrong, and then you just copy and paste this else statement that is right here with everything else. Alright, so now if we have our first button is clicked, you are right, you are correct. Or if it is wrong, you say you are wrong. Alright, so now let's go ahead and first we want to go up to our viewed load, and we're actually going to say random. Actually, what did we call this right down here? So we want to call our function basically. So this is going to be random questions. So we just type in random questions, open parentheses, close parentheses, and that's it. So when you build and run this now, you can actually, this will actually do everything that we listed right in here, and we shall see if all the buttons work now. So go ahead and build and run. So hello world, what is my name? Oh, John. Oh no, that you are wrong. And you can see that in your command prompt right over here. If you don't see your command prompt, click and drag from the bottom, or you can click this button right up here. So now you are wrong, and now if I click on Jared, you are correct. Now we're actually going to make this to be able to switch questions if you did get it wrong. So now let's go back to our main.storyboard, and first thing we want to do is add a label onto our scene. If I can just find it. All right, so add a label onto our scene like so, and this is actually going to be telling the user that they are correct and they are wrong. So let's go ahead and do that, and let's make it a bit bigger and center it. And we're gonna change the, actually we're not gonna do anything like that. All right, now let's go back down here, and now we actually want to add a button. And this one will just say, next question, please. All right, so next question, please, and then we go over here, and let's go to our assistant editor. So now we want this button to actually call this randomizer again. So if you had more questions inside of your thing, this is more practical to have this calling a random number. But since you're calling a random number and you only have 4 answers, it's very likely that you're going to be able to call the same one again and again. So if you have more questions, it's highly unlikely that you're going to get the same one over and over again. But because we only have 4 questions, then you can easily get repeats on these questions and answers. All right, now let's go ahead and connect this next question, please. And we're gonna say, call this an out. Actually, we want this to be an action. So actually, let's put it down here with all the rest of these actions. So right click or control click and drag from our next question please button, and we're gonna make this an action, and we're gonna say just call the name of this next, and inside of this next folder we just want to say random questions, like so. So now this right here, when we click this, it's going to give us a random question. So let's go ahead, build and run. And actually I forgot to center this in the view. So let's go ahead and right click or control click and drag from our button, and we want to say center horizontally. Now there are definitely better fixes to this. This is just going to make it centered in the view, and that's wrong. So let's actually make this a bit closer, like so, and build and run again. Actually go back and I just clicked Command Z twice, so we erased the constraint that we added. So move it back a bit more, like so, and right click or control click and drag, and we want to say center horizontally in container again. All right, now build and run, and now we have this next question please button. So now if we click that, it gives us this randomizer. So right here, yeah, it's basically we're getting a lot of repeats because, well, we don't have that many questions. So if you added more questions, you're not going to get all these repeats. But as you can see, every now and then it switches between what is my last name and hello world, what is my name. All right, so now let's make this label actually say something. So first off, we don't want this label to always be there. So let's go ahead and say center horizontally in container, like we did with everything else. And also we want this to adjust size accordingly. So right click or control click and drag and say equal widths. All right, now let's go ahead and close our assistant editor and go to our viewcontroller.swift file again, and go down to our random question, our buttons right down here. And actually we want to create a function, and this is going to be the hide function. So this is going to hide our label that we created right there. So actually first thing we want to do is connect that label. So go to your main.storyboard and go to your assistant editor, and we want to right or control click and drag from our label, and we can just name this label end and say connect. And now go down here. So now we actually have this connected, and we have this variable called label end. Now go down here, and first thing we want to do is in this hide function that we created, And actually you want to add a open parentheses, close parentheses, so now that is actually a function without any errors. So now in this hide function, we want to say label end dot is dot hidden equals true. So it's first going to be hidden, and then when we click one of these buttons, we're going to unhide it. So we can say func unhide open parentheses, close parentheses, and then open curly bracket, close curly bracket, and we want this to be label end dot hidden equals false. So now when this function's called, it's going to hide it, and when this function's called, it's going to unhide it. Unhide the label that holds everything else. So now if we were to build and run this, it's not going to be hidden right now, so we'll fix that in just a second. So first thing we want to do is go into our view.load, and we want to say hide, and then go down here, and when one of these buttons is clicked, we want to say unhide. Unhide, like so. And we can just copy and paste that function to all of these other buttons right here. Alright, and I think the best way of doing this was actually to create these functions, because you can add more items that you want to hide later on. So that makes it a lot easier. So go over here, and we want to go to our hide function, and we want to actually hide this next question please button too. So we can just say our next button, or what did we call it? Go back up here. It's going to be, oh, we actually want to name this button. So go ahead and right click or control click and drag from this button, and we're going to insert a connection as an outlet, and this is going to be next, our next button. All right, now go down here to your hide or unhide button, then you just want to say next dot hidden equals true. And then when you're down here and you're unhide, you just want to say you want to say next dot hidden equals false. So now when we click on these buttons, it's going to hide and unhide all of these labels right here. All right, and now instead of having ns logs right here, we're going to change that to change the label according to what we want. So we can actually just erase these ns logs, and you can say label end dot text equals you are correct, like so. And we can easily just copy and paste that into all of our if correct answers, like so. And now we can erase the ns log right here, and we can actually do the same thing and just say label end dot text equals you are wrong. And you can put that in all of the other else statements inside of these button 3 actions and whatnot. Alright, and I'm going to actually change the size of our code so we can see everything from a different perspective. So go ahead, and I just went up into Xcode preferences, and now I'm going to change in fonts and colors down to, we'll say, A14. So now you can actually see this in a better light. So now we have everything named up here. We have our switch cases that hold each and every one of the questions that we have. And then down here we have hide and unhide, which will hide and unhide all the buttons and the labels right down here. And then we have you are wrong or you are correct. So now let's go ahead and build and run this. And actually I forgot about one of these else statements right down here. All right, now let's go ahead and build and run, and now this should all work properly. So go ahead and say, hello world, what is my name? Oh, I'm John. Oh, you are wrong. Next question, please. And actually we want to change this so when you click on next question, please, we hide these objects again. Just pointed at my screen. Okay, now let's go ahead and go down here, and in our next function, we just easily say hide. So that is the best thing about grouping some of these things in functions. So now we have random questions and hide in just this simple equation right in just the simple line of code right there. So now we can build and run. And now we finally have our working quiz. So now we have, hello world, what is my name? Oh, I'm Jared. You are correct. Say next, please. All right, guys, that's how you make a quiz game in Xcode with Swift. So this is just a very simple and easy version of doing it. Just very simple and easy. And if you guys want more tutorials on how to do certain things, just leave that down in the comment section down below. If you want to know how to do scoring and other stuff like that, there will be a tutorial coming if you want that. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Anyway, guys, if you guys enjoyed this, be sure to hit that like button down below. If you guys want to see more tutorials like this from me in the future, be sure to subscribe down below. Anyway, guys, that's it for this tutorial, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.